Behave, sunshine, jeez. So what you will see in this video is discussion around my story that I am currently writing. I'm about 35K into the writing. This is a longer version that is just exclusive to Patreon members and Coffee members. So this video is just for you. This video is just about the story and the writing. It was taken from a longer video, so that's why it might abruptly start discussing it and abruptly come out. If you follow my YouTube, it will be the writing update video that I was talking about. So enjoy. What else? Katy Perry song. The other night, I think it was on a Game of Thrones fandom kind of video that I heard it. I've been listening to and watching a lot of Daenerys Targaryen. What's his name? Aemond Targaryen, I think. The little one-eyed guy from... I don't remember what that's called. I know it's Game of Thrones. Is it Rise of the Dragons? Something. House of the Dragon, that's it. I've been watching a lot of stuff with him because I love me some dragons. Also Daenerys, I just adore her and the actress that they chose for her. I've been watching a lot of that. I've been watching... There's another fandom thing I've been watching, but I can't think of what it is. But on one of the Aemond Targaryen videos, I think it was, Katy Perry's Rise song came on. So I ended up looking up that song while I was cooking dinner. And as I listened to that song, out of nowhere, my brain started going blink, blink, blink with the story that I am writing right now. I am at about 35K. I'm approaching. And that's the Sorceress World, Book 2, The Laura and the Old Mage. She's not even touching you, Bruce. Oh, she is. She got her paw on you, gross. How dare she? There's a part of the story with Mia, who I might change to Ava, because I like how I have it spelled with the same as Flora, where the A and E are smooshed, and it would be that plus VA for the spelling, and I kind of like that name. There's a character my mom watches on her General Hospital named Ava, and she's always got that spunky attitude. I like the actor who plays her, and I think it kind of might fit her, since I have Mila in another story. But when I listen to that song, I've had issues with... There is a part that I'm working on right now in that story where it's not necessarily I was having issues connecting the dots as much as the old story, the old version, had one plot line, I'll say, storyline I prefer, for Mia in the position she's in right now, which is the underworld, essentially. I always forget what I named it, so I just say underworld and hell and darklands because it's easier. Also, it sums up for people who don't know the world what I'm talking about easier. But there was this point she's at right now where she is dealing with one demon. He's more of a demon wrangler and a demon hunter, but he's also a demon who's taken her down into the place she wanted to go. She made a deal with him to take her down there, and he ended up telling her he'll do it, but she owes him. Then he takes her into a place that is basically a punishment zone, which is like the most gruesome, naughty desires that humans or anybody could think up is taking place, but it's against their will. And it's like a serviceable thing for other demons to profit from. But also, the main one, he feeds off of that. So it's like an essence that people put off that pain of being forced to constantly be that slave to that desire, but also to whoever wants to come in, whatever they think of, whatever they want. And it's just a constant, because we're talking hell. So it's the worst of the worst that can happen, that can be thought of, that can be fed from. And the demon who helps Mia takes her to him, because essentially, if you're talking about a zone like that, where people are, or I shouldn't say people, but demons and beasts and creatures that live in that underworld go and come from, it's kind of like a bar. People, they will talk, or they will exchange for an exchange. So he's gonna be someone who knows information. And I'm not really connecting what information he could have had, because he's not really a huge part of the story, and he won't be heard from again, if you can call him a he, whatever he is. And I didn't really flesh out that part of the story, so I didn't need much there. I just needed to show how bad that space was and how dangerous it is, because it's another aspect that's showing she's not the same, even though she was raised to think that she's this kind of thing, and that, without giving too much of the story, that basically she is 100% nothing but human. It's proving that when she enters the one space in this zone that a human would be completely slave to what's going on in that room, it's not affecting her the way it should. It's just another layer of depth to show not just how bad that space is down there, because I've shown that as well, but it's showing her effect on him, that main guy at the front, controlling everything, but also what's affecting everything in the room that is human is not affecting her the way it should. But it's also connecting her to somebody else that shows up. And again, somebody else is a loose term. He's also a demon. So when I heard that song, the original story was that that particular demon had connected with a previous sorceress who was a dark sorceress, and he was connected to her, and then Mia's story kind of connects via that. But when I heard that story, all the stuff that I've written about Mia kind of being afraid to let go with Reagan, or Reagan, whichever you want to say it, I've realized needed more of a backstory to make people understand why it's so hard for her, especially the fact that he's such a strong, stable, secure in himself kind of man, why she's flinchy about opening up to him and trusting him and believing that what he's saying is the truth. Believing in him, believing in herself, trusting herself with him. She's struggling to connect. She is there with him when she's there with him. She's present with him when she's present with him. But there's a part of her that she gets to that space that's a wall in her. It's taking her effort and work to push just a little further, and keep getting closer. And I needed a way to show why that was such a big deal, because there's no real backstory for that to say this is why she struggles. This is why she has trust issues. This is why she can't just be like, okay, after all these others, I'm just going to be like, trust you. Because you're coming across just like them, but you're different. You're just instantly different. You are just easily, he's not complicated. He's there. He's had a lot of stories around him. And she's starting to hear them, and she's starting to see the reaction to everybody around him. But when it's one-on-one, and she finds it difficult to trust in his stability, to trust in his words, to trust in his actions and his behavior, even though on his side there's nothing behind it. When he says, whatever he might say, that's it. There's no hidden things. There's no, I'm trying to manipulate you. I'm trying to earn your trust. There's no, like if he says he likes chocolate ice cream, he's not trying to say it because he hopes she likes chocolate ice cream and gain points kind of thing. It's literally just him being present with her. So I needed a way to connect why it's so difficult, because his story is getting fleshed out, but hers, it's not really. Kona's, stop. Kona's starting to get acting up. Kona, what are you doing? Yeah, we's almost done. But when I heard that song, there was something about her standing back up and fighting despite people not trusting in her, and basically it's the theme of trusting self, and that she'll stand back up and get up and keep rising no matter how many times she's knocked down. And I was going, you know what, that just out of nowhere I started thinking of Mia and her past and her comments that I've written in here and there without any thought around it. I was saying to myself, that's her backstory. That's where it's causing so much issue with her. And it connected to where I'm currently at in the book. Because as anyone who's followed the writing updates, word count updates, they've known, or some of these videos I've mentioned how the work is, it's going, but I force it so that I'm getting words, even though some are against, forcing it. But if I waited till I felt like writing, I'm not sure when I'd write. I don't do when the mood strikes me. It's work. That's the point where I force it. For me, it works. But I hadn't had that kind of moment that just ignited the brain and ignited the story. I'm not sure when the last one was, I should say. But when I had heard that song, that was enough to suddenly spark, just poof, the brain went poof, and little sparked. Little weird writer. And I had finally got the backstory and the connection to even where I could go with that current position as of right now, where I'm at in the story, is her connecting to that demon who had connected to the dark sorceress, but give it a more rich and deep backstory where he connects to her backstory, but she doesn't know it right now. She will discover it later, and that's going to ignite something in her while she is in the underworld, to ignite in her that spark she needs to have ignited to connect her to that space, to connect her to that woman from the past, which is why she's going down there essentially, is to find out who the dark sorceress was, to find out information that might help her, to find out the story. And she keeps connecting to the spirits of the past sorceresses without her knowledge, without her knowing, while she's still like, I'm not this person. They're suddenly thinking I am. I think it was at the last part of Isolorden, the first book. It was the last part of that book where she had discovered they think she's the sorceress. But they're not saying a sorceress. They're saying the sorceress. But that song had not just connected that and her past, but now I'm realizing, even as I'm saying this, that spark is what's going to ignite her to connect to the past dark sorceress, who is going to prove to be a huge aspect of even Riegan's past, his father's past, his mother's past, and it's going to carry with her Mia throughout the entire world as she goes, and it's going to cause, I'll just say, an infection in her, because the original story, she ends up connecting a lot more to the dark sorceress, which connects her to other stuff that I'm not going to go into. And that little spark is going to be an ignition switch for and from a lot of that information that she's going to have to absorb and take in, because that's how she's doing it. It's not just read a book. She's literally absorbing spirits, absorbing the magic, absorbing everything around her. Like the underworld, she's absorbing stuff. It's why she keeps having a lot of the reactions she does, even if she's not noticing the reactions around her. Like things paying attention to her or running from her. So what just listening to that one song did was connect a lot of the dots that I've needed connecting, sparked the ignition switch, as you see on a lot of my writing updates. If you follow the Twitter, you'll see them especially. I try to post them now on here too. That way, if you don't want to follow social media or don't, then you still get them, because I figure it might be nice to see them. And you'll see the numbers starting to pick up, because suddenly the brain went bink when I connected with that song. What's this? Can you see that face? Yes, you can. Look, your eyes are glowing. It's not even a light. Spooky. It's just the window doing it. But with that song, that was enough to connect a lot of the dots. That's why I have said with inspiration, it can come from anywhere. It can be any kind of question. It can be any kind of, even just a sound we hear. It can come from places we don't expect, because I had no intention of thinking about the story. I was just getting ready to cook dinner. I was washing dishes, and that song came around, and suddenly I have all these dots connected in that story, and the part of the story that was really just, it's not that I didn't know the story. I had the story. I had the old story. But I had written in my outline stuff like, should I keep this? Is this how it's going to work? Is this what he's going to be? Little just side notes. That's why I usually write that stuff in my outlines or in my story notes or the writing as I do it. If I have a thought come up, I just write right there. What if blank? Is this how it's going to work? Is he going to be the person? Somebody's smooching mom. Stalker. But I use a lot of that little side notes that I write down for inspiration, for helping me connect dots. My editor will see it when I edit. Often I even leave those notes so she'll see it, so she knows where my thought process is, so that when I'm about to do the deeper edit, she'll see those notes. So if she has a thought, she'll see if I'm going to address that information that she's wondering about or catch something. And that's enough usually for me to percolate and create more, is just including those little, is this how it's going to be? What if? Little questions to myself, little notes, tidbits, pieces, a sentence, a conversation, a scene, a detail, anything that comes to mind as I'm writing or editing or going through the story again, I will jot down, because then it's in here. Even if I'm not conscious of it, even if I'm not remembering it, it's in here. And often when I'm working later on, like that song did, suddenly dots will just connect, and I have figured out my little pieces to where those pieces are going to fit in the story, and I am going, yes, that's perfect. It's a feeling inside that says, that right there, that's how I'm connecting it. That's her backstory. That is going to enrich who she is, because even if I don't include all the details to what's up here, I can just put a couple flashes, which I will do for now, because right now I don't want her entire story told. So what I plan to do is just flash it, so that as you read, you're getting just, she's sitting in the shower crying. She's sitting on the floor looking up at anger. She is, not sure what the other one was. Oh, she's trying to change the color of her face so that people who've been in that situation, they will know exactly what I'm talking about. Other people will gather all the puzzle pieces from what's been going on to gather more than enough for their brain to say this is what took place, or for them to start speculating, wondering if they're gathering the right idea, and keep reading to find that specific answer. Others, of course, might be like, well, I know what's happening, so I'm out. But I'm not going to answer the question. Maybe not even in that book. That's going to be one of those things that I probably won't touch on until later on. Definitely not this book, probably, because I need something for Reagan to push her into confessing when they reach a point where it's basically, I need to know this, or I need to walk away from you because something else is going on that you're not telling me. And if you're not able to tell me that, that says everything. Because if you're not able to be completely open with me, we are not fitting. We are not working. I need to go. And he will either go, or she will tell him the truth. And that will also be determined by the story. When is the appropriate time? Doberman wines. We love Doberman wines that happen 24/7 with the little belly sticking out. Stop it. She has to tinkle, and it's been raining, and she don't like when it's raining, so she's probably not even going to want to go out. I'm going to have to make her go out. She just convinces herself now. It ain't desperate. Don't wink at your mom. Why are you winking? No. What? So, that's something that I'm not going to give the answer away. Maybe it'll be even near the end of the world. Nearer the end of the world. And I at least know I have at least 5 books. I could be less, but the way the writing is going, I may push past that. The original tale had 5 books, but that 5th book I short-circuited. As I mentioned in a video previous, little baby Kim writer got tired of writing and decided that she would just cut some corners. Which is why, again, as I have established, this is getting rewritten, because you cannot go from this person here being human and this to suddenly this part of the story, which takes it a whole different direction. There's suspending belief, and then there is far out of this world ability. So it's something I'm going to address and fix, and that might actually end up being an extra book out of it, or 2 extra books. So far I've been ending where I did with the original story. Book 1 ends where book 1 ended in the original story. So even with the extra information and the extra length, it means that you're getting a longer book, but I am still maintaining book 1 is book 1, book 2 is book 2, and it may end at book 5. In case you're curious where it's coming from, this is when the antsiness starts. But I will end this here because it's getting long.